Hello, everyone. Welcome to One World, One Family, True Colors Film Festival. We have with us some of our short filmmakers that we are featuring in the festival. We have here from India, Vijay, Yasmina, Mauro, and of course, Satesh, who have helped us with some of the films, in the festival, and who is also running a very successful We Care Foundation, right, to support, right, films of this course. So I would first of all start, with letting our filmmakers introduce themselves, right, and the films that we are showing. Vijay, you want to start?
Hi, my name is Vijay Jodha, and I'm a filmmaker and a photographer based out of Gurgaon in India, close to Delhi. And I do all kinds of projects on all kinds of issues on environment, gender, artist biographies, all kinds of projects. I'm happy a couple of my films are being shown as part of the festival here. One of the film is called Poop on Poverty. It's probably the most awarded film that we've had out of India. It's got about 40, 50 honors of all kinds, including Best Film Awards and so on. It's the version that we are looking at the festival here is about, I think, 6 minutes long. It's a film which touches on poverty, gender, environment, and a whole bunch of issues within that small time frame. Other film that I have is a film called Insight Within, which is a very, very inspiring story about this person I've worked with for many years, for more than 10 years, in fact, who himself lost eyesight and decided to help out other people. He started with eight children from poor families, and he's helped something like, I think, 12,000 people, trained them all kinds of different verticals and expertise, and got them jobs without charging a penny. So it's a very interesting and inspiring story that's being showcased as part of the festival. I hope you get a chance to look at it, and it's great to interact with everybody here. Thank you.
So my question for Vijay is, Inside Within and Poop on Poverty, they are very different films. Poop on Poverty, there's a certain sense of humor, although it is about, camels and women collecting, like animal dung.
Mhm.
Can you tell us, how did you chance upon these themes and these subjects, um, and what made you decide, to make these two videos?
Okay. Well, in case of Poop on Poverty, I happen to come from that part of India, which is Rajasthan, which is an extremely, extremely colorful place and is also a very dry desert kind of area for most part. So camels that you see a lot over there and things like that. So, and of course, Pushkar is one of the biggest festivals and tourist destinations in the world. It has been subject of a lot of films and photo books and magazine articles, so they've covered it to death, you can say. But there's this facet of Pushkar with all the tourists and all the exotic stuff happening, and there are these women who are almost invisible and they're doing this stuff. And it's extraordinary what happens, because this festival is just for 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks they are busting their back, risking their life to some extent, because camels are very unpredictable, they can kick you and all of that. And within those 2 weeks they're able to collect enough of this camel dung to take care of their fuel needs for several months. It is happening in winter, so winter is when it gets more difficult. And that part of India and world is very dry, so you don't have forest where you can go out and chop wood and do all of those things. So that is something which I was aware of. I had when I was sort of invited for this particular project dealing with theme of poverty, there are a lot of filmmakers who are asked to work on this project. I did this particular area. Other one, insight within the protagonist, Dr. Jitendra Agarwal, is somebody I'd met when he was when he was starting out. Basically, he didn't know what to do with his life and how to move forward, because he had lost his job. He couldn't work anymore as a dentist and all of that. And he was figuring it out, and he was trying to raise money to start this. So I had done a bunch of films for him. He converted his dental clinic into a school to train people and all of that. And so from there it worked. I mean, it worked very well. So when he started out, he was taking those around, and he could just, because he was not very so-called marketing kind of person, so you take that film and he would show people the film, and that was enough. And there are a lot of testimonials from a lot of prominent people in the film also. So all of that helped, and that's how one did this. And I'm still involved with him, and I'm one of the advisors for his organizations and all of that. So that's how it turned out. in a place like India where you have so many issues, to think that somebody is going to train and get people really proper jobs in corporations and all kinds of places without charging a penny is just unbelievable. And the fact that he's managed to do it for, I think, 18,000 people or some crazy number. And it's very, very inspiring story, worth sharing.
Thank you, Vijay.
Thank
Next,
you.
can we have Yasmina, right? Can you tell us a bit about yourself, and the film that you did was a long journey for the first steps.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for inviting me to participate in the discussion and for screening our film. I'm a documentary filmmaker from Ljubljana, but now I live in Vienna. And yeah, for me, like stories are really important that are around us in the society, and yeah, so social topics in which I can say or like also think about things that I found maybe also not fair or interesting either way, or inspiring like Vijay's film we saw. I mean, thank you for sharing the link. So this film that we made was made during one year documentary film workshop, which was organized by an NGO who works as an independent video production called the ZMP, Luxus Produkcja, where I used to work also. And these workshops are meant for participants from, so to say, underprivileged or marginalized social groups. So in this workshop, one of the participants, who is also one of the authors of the film, Ratko Stojkovic, he worked for a couple of years as a volunteer in the project called Let Them Dream. It's a project that was a collaboration between Palestine and, let's say, yes, Slovenia, yeah. So it was a humanitarian project also financed by Qatar and US partly, to help children from Palestine to come to Slovenia for rehabilitation. And yeah, so he wanted to make a film about, let's say, not necessarily this project, but like these children that come to Slovenia and spend 1 month there and then return back to Palestine. And yeah, we formed a group together with Julia Minet. She was the DOP. I was recording the sound and partly camera, but mostly it was done by Julia, and then at the end also by Rosa Alessandri. So yeah, I edited in the end because we had like 100 hours of material, because we didn't really know what we were doing when we were filming. We just knew that we want to make it as much as an observational documentary as possible. But in the end, we still had to film a couple of interviews to make things clear and to keep it in this short format. Yeah, so I don't know like much what to say about the film. Like, it went around the world a lot. It didn't get any prizes. And also, I don't know if it had any like greater impact than that people actually know that this program is happening, because a lot of people in Slovenia don't know about this. But also now it's sadly over, the project, so there are no more kids coming. But yeah, I thought it was a really like, also it was not a film about the project exactly. We were just really captivated by the charisma of Baila San and her mother Amal, and their relationship. And yeah, we just wanted like to make kind of this short portrait of their experience there and what it meant to them and for the other kids that were there. Yeah.
Yeah, when I watched the video, I think I was, very amazed by, I think, some of the moments that you've managed to capture. The frustration, of the girl, and especially the exchanges between the mom and the daughter. And I was just wondering, like, you mentioned about, filming almost 100 hours of footage. How long were you with, this family?
Yeah, we were really lucky about like a lot of things, because we were filming without understanding the language, because the translator was not always present. It's also not possible when things are happening in front of you to, really know what's going on. So we just like went with it, and we were lucky that they trusted us and that they saw that this we are doing for the kids basically. So moms were very cooperative, especially Amal. So, sorry, what was, can you just repeat the question? Sorry, I kind of lost track.
Yeah, I was asking like, how long were you with the family?
Yes.
Yeah.
We wanted to film basically every day, but then we were burned out after 2 weeks, and we just piled up so much material. And our mentors told us to get a break, and also to give them a break, to not always follow them around. It was also difficult because we needed to constantly communicate with the Ministry of Internal Affairs. I mean, sorry, yeah. Mm, it was not so easy actually to get the permission and to be there present so much. We were limited how many hours a day and in which activities can we also participate. Um, yeah, because they were under a strict surveillance all the time. Like, yeah, it's a bit like, yeah, difficult. Yeah. Um, so yeah, we were with them basically the whole month, with exception of a couple of days of breaks. Mm, like I cannot explain like really in detail, but it, supposedly it's really difficult for a lot of kids to cross the border. Um, yeah, because the Israeli government is not so keen on letting like everyone pass, and also they're under surveillance just in case that they don't manage to escape and stay in Europe or something. It's very strict. It was very strictly monitored project, which involved enormous efforts and time from the diplomats of Slovenian government and other ones also to even allow it to happen. Yeah.
Thank you, Yasmina. Okay, next we have Mauro. You're the author of Elsewhere, right, which is a very funny film. Yeah, can you tell us a bit more about yourself and why you end up with such a project?
Hi, I'm Mauro. I'm the author of Altrove Elsewhere and directed by Cesare Ciccardini. And the story is about my cousin, that is the protagonist of the movie. And I wanted to portray the story of a person that I love, obviously, because he's part of my family. And it started as like just a trip between me and him at the beginning. The idea was to have a trip among friends and cousin. But at some point, I thought that it was a good idea to involve a director and try and do something bigger, because Simone has Down syndrome, and I like to present him as Simone because Down syndrome is just one of his characteristics. And I mean, if you have watched the movie, you can understand that he has many other qualities before being portrayed just as a person with Down syndrome. And I mean, at this moment, I was in Malta, that is an island close by to Italy. It's actually the smallest country in Europe. And he came to visit me, and we had a trip around the island where I was just the excuse for him to travel. And he told the story about how he perceived his emotion, like love, the relationship with food, the relationship with work. And actually, it has been a very long trip apart from the movie, because we had a lot of screenings where we went together around Europe mostly. And I managed to go as well in India, where I met actually Satish. And thanks, Satish, for inviting me to this festival too. And I mean, now Simone is part of a movie. He managed to convince an actor, writing him a letter to have a role in a movie in Rome, as his dream is being or a filmmaker or an actor. And he wrote a letter like about 2 years ago, and recently he has been involved in the movie. So I'm very glad that the reach of the short movie that was a small thing has become something bigger.
Wonderful. Yeah, so I think the thing that I want to ask you about the video that you made is, it is not a straightforward documentary, and I wouldn't even call it a documentary because it is clearly scripted. So I wanted to ask you, like, how involved, is Simone involved, in like coming up with the story with you?
Actually, it wasn't scripted before. I mean, we had an idea of the topics we wanted to talk about, but we leave the Simone to bring out topics, and actually we didn't script his part. The word you hear during the movie is his words mostly. I mean, there are parts that we bridge to get the story flow, and I mean, we decided to have this liberty for Simone to speak, because I knew that he has a lot to tell. He is always constantly writing, rewriting TV series, and trying to express himself, especially towards love. That is something that he brings out many times. And for this reason, we decided we call it docu-film, because we have a part that is clearly bridged by us, but most of the emotion and the expression that he brings out during the movie is his own expression.
So did he really miss his flight?
No, I mean, this is part of the thing that we bridge to make the movie funnier. Because Simone has this character of being funny. I mean, he can miss flights. Actually, I am the one that usually miss flights. So we just mixed up our two characters.
Cool. Thank you, Mauro. Next, we have Satish. Right, Satish, you want to tell us a bit about your work with We Care Foundation?
Thank you very much. It is my second year that we are associated with True Color Film Festival. This festival was started in 2003, and now we are into 18th year of this We Care Film Festival. We have got in our kitty more than 1,100 short films and documentaries from approximately 150 plus countries on various disability issues, ranging from 1 minute to 120 minutes. And I'm happy that Mauro and Jasmina has agreed to be part of this True Color Festival, and they are sharing their experiences. And we have traveled a lot, not only in India, but outside India. And for all of you, I would like to share that this is 192nd venue of We Care Film Festival in a row in the last 18 years. So we are happy that we are again part of this True Color Film Festival, and we are looking forward to be part of this festival in future also.
Can you tell us, why do you start this festival? Almost like a movement, and a vision, to say something about the world.
Actually, we were having our school projects, and we were creating awareness in mainstream schools about disability, about acceptance of disability. Then we see that the concept or the goal of inclusion we cannot achieve unless until we can sensitize the society at large. At that time in 2001, 2002, we were working with the schools. But if we need acceptance, total acceptance, we need to sensitize the society. Then suddenly one day in 2003, I saw an ad in the newspaper that one film festival is being organized by some organization, and that was on women's issue. Then the idea clicked to my mind that why not a film festival on disability issues? Then from there, we talked a lot. We had a lot of meetings. At that time, Nandita Das was also part of this movement. So after a lot of discussion and with lot of discussion and lot of interaction with the filmmakers and the producers of the films, mainly from India, and we started collecting the film. But it was, I'm just telling you, but it was very difficult to start a film festival. And when we start in the first festival, we got films from Austria and German, UK and US, and total films were 14. And this festival are organized in Delhi for 1 week. So that was my journey, and main purpose was to sensitize the society at large on various disability issues. So from the third year, we started competitive film festival, and the result is before you that now uh, after the when we started competitive film festival, now we have more than 1100 films from 150 plus countries.
Thank you. So I was thinking, we have filmmakers, writers, festival organizers, and there are so many issues out there, as what Satesh was mentioning, women issues and stuff like that. Why did you choose, your subject matter, in particular, the video that we have shown? Do you see yourself not just as, a filmmaker or a festival organizer, but an activist? What are the causes, that are close to you, that you wanted to use film as a medium to share with the world? So would you like?
I started working in the disability sector in 1994. So this subject was very close to my heart. So whatever I decided, whatever I thought, that the film festival should be only on disability issues, and there was no any film festival on disability issues in India itself. That is why.
I see.
For me, the issue was, as I said, the whole joy of doing non-fiction cinema is that you can do films on virtually any kind of subject. You can do a funny film, you can do a very serious film. Some films are very, very boring films, but they help do the job. So you can make a film which is like an instruction film or like a behavior change kind of film. And I've done films for some small doctor group which they're using in tribal area where people are not very educated, formally educated. So you make a very visually driven film. This film, not this particular film, but this subject that we are looking at, Insight Within, this doctor film, for example. The films I had done for him initially, those are again not some films you'll say are very artistically very exciting, but they did the job. And what happened was, when you're starting out, Delhi has lot of NGOs. Some are good NGOs, some are not so good. So you had a filmmaker who had a bit of a reputation attached to a NGO which was trying to do something. So that helped them, that okay, this guy who's done stuff all over the place is making a film on this man. So that helps. So yes, a lot of times change is the issue. A lot of times it can be other things, because let's not forget it's an art form also above all, right? Even if it's involving, only difference that it's involving real life materials, non-fiction stuff, but it is an art form, so it has to serve that purpose as well. And second thing, like this film which I've done, Poop on Poverty, I feel very excited about it because it's gone places, it's been shown on lots of, I think there's some 70 odd stations have shown it as well, and it's gone all over the place. More than 200 festivals it's been shown in, and all of that all over the world. It's been shown in a prison in Italy, for example, and all kinds of places. So you have this idea that you have this film which has gone everywhere and it's been so well received, and the protagonist or the hero of the film is not some good looking guy or whatever, some very attractive lady. It's just a pile of camel dung. Yeah? So that's very subverting that whole idea. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, so
That's my
following up on what you mentioned, right? That every video that you made serve a purpose. It could be for it being like a funny festival film. It could be a video for marketing, right? A cause which is very meaningful. So my question is, you've made such a range of videos, serving different kind of purposes, and there are so many issues out there, that you have. That comes to you to us to be produced. How do you choose what project to be on?
Well, the main concern is, first to be clear, I'm not thinking of festivals or awards or any of that stuff at all. That doesn't come in the picture whatsoever. It's only once you manage to get it somewhere, or whether you're trying to get some money organized or whatever it is, that is when you think of it that, okay, I've got this great idea which is moving to me. So first criteria is something that moves you in some manner, whether it's make you happy, angry, upset, or something which is very challenging, which is very subversive, for example. So those are the first things you want to do. And then this is the later part, which is there, okay, can I try to get this organization to fund it, or can I get this festival to take this, or you think this award may be possible for this film. So those are the later things which don't come into the picture for me at all before. but essentially it is something which excites you in some manner. It can be exciting in a, you know, in a very happy manner, in an unhappy or angry manner also. And yes, lot of projects you can't see through them, only some you are able to put together. So like any filmmaker, you have lot of films which you could not complete, you know, so they are film sitting, hopefully they'll get done or maybe they'll not, but it happens, you know, so that's just the process of it. But yeah, it's the excitement, I would say, which gets you going to begin with. Yeah.
Thank you, Vijay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would see myself first as an activist and then as a filmmaker. And Vijay said, it's like you feel just compelled to do something when you find a story. And yeah, you don't always manage to do it, but yeah, if you have a good crew and if you have like good concept, then usually it's, and if it really needs to be done, because some stories just really need to be done, I think. I mean, of course, every film you want to do, it would be nice if it had been done. It's just sometimes it's much easier because yeah. But anyway, every film I made was really difficult for me. I am not very experienced filmmaker still. I never earned nothing from my films, and I never also applied them for funding. It was just when I found out really late, unfortunately, that anyone can make film now at this age. Yeah, I was just like got addicted to it a bit. So I was just trying to make something every year. And so recently I'm struggling with one project of mine since many years, about one squat in Ljubljana, where I was also active for 6 years. And it was quite a dramatic story. I mean, for me, because I was also involved. Yeah, so I don't know how this will go. The squat still exists, so but it's under threat of eviction for many years. But apart from that, I am with my collaborator Sasha Ignatovic. We are like creative duo for the last couple of years. We made one experimental short film, which was also shown quite a lot, and recently also in Vienna on Vienna Porn Film Festival. And apart from that, we are still we still have one project in the making about beavers. Yeah, where we played a bit with this role of how when yeah, I don't know if I can explain it really well right now. I'm sorry, I'm a bit tired. But yeah, so I like actually to explore different topics and to present them also in a different way. To like form is also very important. Yeah, how you present a topic and the story. But for me, it's just mostly it's just the story. If the story is there, and if I have something to say, and if I think, yeah, this should be presented, then yeah, I usually, yeah, then do it. Yeah. So I don't know what else to say, but for now, yeah.
You
Thanks.
mentioned just now about a film that you're making about the squad.
Yeah.
Can you tell us like what squad it is?
This is an old bike factory squatted in 2006 in Ljubljana. It's called the Autonomous Factory ROG. Yeah, so why this was interesting for me is that I wanted to start filming there because even before we knew that we would get evicted, because it just seemed like we would be there forever, like no one really cared. I mean, the municipality didn't have money to do anything with it. And yeah, there, like it was this kind of really magical place where anything could like happen just if you had like an idea, you could do it. It was of course like non-profit. It was like this bubble inside the city where you were free and you didn't have to rely on projects and stuff. We just like did it. Like we had so much like resources we scavenged on our own, or we used our own time and money to do things, infrastructure projects. There were so many groups involved there, from like philosophy students to anarchists to like I don't know, party people, hippies, whatever, skaters, like everyone. It was really nice mix, and it was also a lot of people who were from the margins of the society. Also, there was a social center there for migrants, for migrant workers, for people without papers. So it was a really interesting, creative, political project, very important for the city. And why I started filming finally is because the municipality notified us that we have like a couple of months to get out after 10 years of being there and keeping the place not collapsing. And then, yeah, we started building a movement to keep it. And on like after a couple of months, we got really a lot of support from the media, from the local citizens, also internationally. And what the mayor did is that he yeah, got a private construction company and a private security company, and they came to the premises. They wanted to surprise us, and they came at 4 in the morning. So this is quite like this kind of mafia style, because no one who does things legally comes 4 in the morning. Unfortunately, 20 people were there when this happened, and in half an hour there was 100 of us. In 15 minutes it was 200 of us, and after 2 hours it was so many people that the security couldn't do anything, like in the end. So this was really interesting. So I kept filming also after this eviction attempt, which failed for them. And basically police came to escort the security out, and they left us inside. And yeah, a lot of interesting things happened there also for me, like from sociological point of view, like what happens inside this, you know, horizontal autonomous community, leftist community. So yeah, it was a lot of hours. I have like 200 hours, and I started editing it in Budapest last year on Verzio Human Rights Film Festival, because they host a laboratory every year for films that are somehow involved, I mean, connected to human rights. So I'm really thankful for that they finally like made me do something with this material. And yeah, I hope like maybe in like next couple of years I will manage to process it properly and get some distance, and yeah, filter some kind of story that would be relevant, maybe also broader, because yeah, gentrification and privatization is a problem like all over. But it's also interesting to see what happens, I think, inside this kind of communities, which are usually very private and closed and like bubbles, yeah, inside a certain scene in the city.
It's interesting to hear, and we have Yasmina, right, who, is so invested, in some of the stories that you're staying with, the squatters and the communities to build trust. But even that, just by the act of documenting, what they are doing, sometimes that you are fending off, right, people who might be trying to take something away from them because you are documenting and providing evidence, right, and being witness to, I think, what they are doing. So the power of video today, right, that it can be shot by almost anybody and it could be uploaded, right, to rally for support, for social causes is really quite amazing. So I think I want to then talk to Mauro, right, that for Elsewhere, you made it with your cousin. What do you do after that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not from the filmmaking industry. I mean, I did this movie because I was moved by the relationship with my cousin. And from there, I've been involved in the cinema industry because I was working on a film festival, but on the communication side and marketing side. But the last year, I was involved in an organization that worked with migrants, and it is like called Comitato 3 Ottobre, 3rd of October. That is a very dramatic day in 2013, where there was a big shipwreck in the Mediterranean Sea. And the organization started to commemorate this day, bringing schools together on the island of Lampedusa to meet the migrants and have a workshop during 3-4 days. And there is a march to commemorate the victims of this shipwreck. And we just go around Italy to meet students, particularly the president of the Comitato was going around to, like, not now because of the pandemic, but on the last few years, was meeting the kids to bring migrant story in schools and let people understand the person that is living this dramatic moment that can be it has been us on a different historical period. If you think about Italian migrating in South America or in US in other moments. So I'm always trying to get involved on social issue that I feel close to my likelihood, if I can say. And at the moment, actually, I'm on an agricultural project in the south of Chile, and we are trying to bring together a farm project relying on organic food. And it has been challenging because obviously with the pandemic and everything is not easy to do stuff. But I mean, I can be in a worse place considering where world is now. So I'm quite glad.
Wow. So we have, filmmakers, documentary makers, and we have advocates, right? I think not just making and bearing witness to what is going on because of your access, right, to these communities and these organizations, but I think spreading the word, right, and advocating, right. I think it is really inspiring, right, to see and to hear from you guys. I think the kind of world that you have been exposed to, and that you are making stories, right, for them, so that we have the privilege to watch them and to hear them even when we are at the other part of the world. And I'm just wondering whether you guys have any questions for each other, having seen each other's work. Yeah, Vijay, Mauro, and Yasmina.
I don't have questions, but I would really like to congratulate both the filmmakers. Yes, for example, Jasmine's film, I was very, very moved by that. And, I find documentaries very exciting especially good documentaries, they're exciting, which obviously her project is one of those films. And they are very exciting for the fact that they have so much more complexity and so much more layers to them. And documentaries, for example, Jasmina's film, it's obviously one issue is disability issue, but it's also a story about a mother and child. That's the second thing. Third, it's about rich countries, poor countries kind of thing. And then, of course, there's the issue of the plight of the Palestinian people, which a lot of people, especially in the West, especially people outside the Arab world, are not at all familiar with. So there's one very strong and maybe subtle layer of that operating also. And, how can that sort of stuff happen? And, this kind of thing. In India, for example, we are very aware of it. We have been a big supporter of this whole issue for a long time. So it's different by the way. So, that kind of thing. And same thing when I look at the Mauro's film, it is in India, for example, which is world's biggest filmmaking country. Bollywood makes more movies than any other industry. And a lot of the stuff you see has a very, very stereotype about people who are differently abled. It's either putting them into very heroic, extraordinary kind of thing going on, and otherwise it's like a very pity kind of thing. You never want to put them as regular people. So when you watch his movie with his cousin and he's saying, okay, I hope meet some nice girls there, and he's got exactly the same thing which a normal person or whatever any other person of his age would be doing, and that is so reassuring, and it's also very revealing, which most people don't realize that. And so that is something very exciting for me, and for that I would like to compliment both of them. And Satish also, I think one has to appreciate the fact that you can make the greatest of films possible, but these issues are not sexy. The distributors are not going to jump up and say, okay, we'll take it. So anybody who is creating a platform for this kind of work and doing that year after year, begging, borrowing, and stealing, and trying to somehow. I've been on the jury with Satish many times for selecting films. This We Care Foundation, all of that. So it's such a challenge to do that and to put that stuff out there. Otherwise, you would not. They would be sitting in a box somewhere. So that's something very, very crucial to the process also. So I'm happy that I'm with three very important people in that respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. Yasmina and Mauro.
Thank you, Vijay, for everything you said. I really enjoyed your films, so thank you for sharing them. And I really like the editing in Poop on Poverty, like how you're not really aware of what is yeah, happening until it just strikes you, and it's really amazing. And I really enjoyed this minimalism, but you tell so much actually. In, the representation of the women is also like basically they say it all. Like you don't need to show it more. It's really, for me it was really like pleasure to watch it. Of course, also the Inside Within, like it's an amazing story. Although I was not really sure if this also meant that this big corporation are now taking advantage of this.
Sorry, I
And
didn't get you. Sorry to interrupt you. Advantage of whom? Who's taking advantage of whom, you think?
yeah, like that they are much more efficient workers, and they're being like grabbed now by these huge corporations to work for them. I didn't know if this is problematic in a way, or I just need to watch the film again.
No, you see, I want to point this out, and you see what happens. It's a very interesting thing because all of us, when we are sitting down in front of a computer, we are working on something, and you basically you need some information. You're writing a proposal or doing whatever work you're doing, and you say, "I'll go to internet to search for it," and you go there, or you check your mobile, and from there you are going to social media, and before you know, you have spent half an hour wasted, right? That distraction we have, and all of us have that problem. And if you're working in a BPO where they're paying you by the hour, okay, you're spending 8 hours sitting there. So a lot of times, and I've gone and filmed in those places, so what happens is people are sitting and working, and when they see the supervisor or the immediate boss has gone somewhere, immediately you leave that, doing something else, and you have a screensaver, so as soon as he comes, you press a button and you're back to your work and all that thing. That is something which a person who is visually impaired cannot do. He cannot see from the side, okay, that guy is gone, so I can do my own thing. So they end up working very, very efficiently. Of course, this film is trying to break the stereotype that these people are far, far more efficient than you assume that they will be. So that is a major thing I'm trying to sort of highlight in that. you know and the whole problem in India is that you don't have enough decent, safe, good jobs. So whatever people can manage, it's a very, very important sort of thing. So that is what Mohan was trying to highlight. And the other film I had made, in that you got a lot of these big daddy people talking, it breaks the stereotype that these guys are not, supposing he doesn't have eyes or hands or whatever, doesn't mean he's going to do half the work. He'll do 100% of the work. Yeah.
yeah, thank you. No, it's really great to see it. Also, that what kind of challenges they face, and like they cannot take notes when they are like working as like agents and so on.
Yeah.
So it's really great. So thank you. I'm also inspired to make a film about one friend of mine who is without. During the Bosnian War, he lost his right arm and right leg, and he's like working since years as a mechanic, and he's making motorbikes. Like he has his own business, and he's also a biker, and has a family now. And it's so thanks. And for Mauro, I have a question: if there's gonna be a part 2 of Simone. I would really like to see it.
Yes.
I like when people ask this question, because it means, I mean, the character has done his job. But I mean, I'm thinking about other projects, always involving people with Down syndrome in this case. I'm not sure if I will involve Simone, as he's having his own career at this moment. But I'm thinking about continuing on working on this issue, because I think there is a lot to tell, and there are a lot of personalities. I mean, as I was saying at the beginning, I'm focusing on the person, not on the disability, even though we cannot hide that there is this characteristic too. So I'm focusing on writing something, but my idea is important that the pandemic will end, because it implies a lot of traveling in this case. So in the moment that the pandemic started, I stopped writing about this idea, because I said it will be unuseful to continue if I cannot travel, because it will involve different country and different people. But yes, I mean, I will try and continue telling story on this topic. And to speak about your movies, though, I saw Poop on Poverty and Jasmina movie too, and I have the same comment as Jasmine. I mean, I think the woman in Poop on Poverty says it all. I mean, they don't have to tell much because I mean their face and the way they speak, the little thing they say are big thing actually. And I was quite shocked about the touristic side that is becoming more and more I don't know how to say sort of a display of other people instead of really going and knowing what is going on a different country. I was traveling around India when I met Satish as well, like 3 years ago. So I got some taste of India in this case. But the way tourism is taught nowadays and is quite scary actually. And I think in your movie you manage with few shots to portray this scary part of tourism. And talking about Jasmina movie, I mean, I think again the stronger part is the character, the girl. I think I really like the way she bring out her will of living life, even though it has been sort of compromised with the issue she has. But I mean, I like the relationship between the mom and the girl, because I mean, I think you managed to bring out some of these little sweet things that happen, and even the character of a person that even if he has a disability issue, it doesn't mean he's always kind or he doesn't have nothing to say. Actually, it can be tough sometimes. I mean, with Simone, for example, we fight a lot of times and we have a relationship as I have with anybody else. So, I mean, if I have to tell him that something is wrong, I will tell him, and he will do the same with me. If he doesn't like something, there is no way he will hide it, actually. This no filter thing sometimes is something we have to learn from them.
Yeah,
That's all I think.
So it is my request to all the filmmakers through this channel and the channels on this webinar, that please make films with captions and subtitles, because we have audience with hearing impairment also.
when I visited your website, you mentioned that sometimes films that showed people with disabilities are exploitative and are wrong, right? And these are films that you will not show, right, in your film festival. So you want to elaborate more about this kind of films?
No, our main purpose is to create awareness about various disability issues, and my job is to collect the films. And if the films are meeting our minimum criteria, then second phase comes when we take this festival to the schools and colleges, and wherever every student, every participant, the audience, they watch and rate each and every film. So after that, it depends on the audience when they select the films, because we take opinion of the audience, then we scrutinize the films, then it goes to the final jury.
I see. So there is a moment in Poop for Poverty which I find a bit thought-provoking, and that is when Vijay, you were filming, I think, some of the women, and of course the women are also filmed right by tourists, and that the woman was saying, no, don't film me, So I wanted to pose the question to the three of you, where, because the subject matter that you are telling, right, that you are shooting, there are also people who are marginalized. There are also people who do not want to be seen, right? Sometimes in a light which is not flattering to them. What and how do you decide what to include in the film, and what are things that you would not shoot and show?
Even the most brilliant documentary is a form of fiction to some extent, because you are always making choices of what you are going to film and not film. This stuff which will end up on the cutting floor and the bins or whatever when you're editing that film. Okay, so you're always making that choice. But filmmaker, documentary filmmaker, whatever claims they may have about themselves, each filmmaker is creating a certain fiction. And that fiction is that this person in front of the camera happened to be doing what he or she was doing anyway. He was not doing for me. She was not aware of the fact that I was there, and it was like invisible kind of thing, which is not true. They're always aware of that. When you're asking them a question, they know fully well that you know, your question tells something to that person also, you know. And but at the same time, there's a huge, very, very asymmetrical relationship. We are filming, tourists are filming, they're taking pictures, doing all of that, and in some ways you cannot get away from the idea that you are also exploiting those people. You know, I don't have any this high and mighty idea that what I'm doing is so brilliant that it's not exploitation. In some ways it is. Let's not get away from that. And when you're putting that part into the film, when you're including that, you are including the process it takes to make the film. You are also highlighting the fact that there's a very strong asymmetry there, where people may not like to be filmed, but you are still filming that. They don't take it nicely, but they cannot do anything about it. So I'm partly, as a filmmaker, part of the problem also. We cannot get away from that. It's an imperfect world. So you say that, okay, doing that is, one way to highlight the problem. What can you do? But they do not have the agency. I have the agency. I have the last word. They do not have the last word. I have the funding to do this. They do not have. In this case, we paid money to these people. We are not required to, but we paid them some money, so they also benefit from the project. Okay. But otherwise, what happens is that you are riding on, and this is something very, very important. I get invited. I've gone to a lot of universities and places. You do workshops and all of that. I've done for UNESCO and Commonwealth Media, as well as a lot of other schools and stuff like that. And this is something I always emphasize very, very strongly with all the people, that this is a medium which rides on generosity. You can have the greatest of ideas, you can have the biggest of commissioning budget behind you, you can have the best training and everything in place, and the best cameraman and the best camera equipment and sound recorders, blah blah blah. But the person in front of the camera, if he or she says that I don't want to participate in this, your story is gone. So you are resting on generosity of some people who will not benefit from that, and certainly not benefit in the manner in which you stand to benefit. And when you're underlining that, that makes it a slightly more honest film. I could have kept that scene out, but I wanted to show that it's not like they're happy to be filmed. Some of them don't dig that at all. But you have done that nonetheless, and it is humiliating also, and it's dangerous also. We put that scene where you see we also almost got kicked by the camel. So you put that because otherwise you don't realize, otherwise. So you're putting, if you look at the original, the whole cinema verite movement that came out in the 1960s, the idea was that not that that film is going to be more honest, but it will be more direct. You can see the camera mic or the light reflection or the film running out somewhere, and it may make it slightly clumsy, but it also makes you alive that this is a fiction, or it's a narration which is created. We have made choices here, and it's a process in which we are somewhere involved. So you're highlighting that within the space of that 6 minutes. So you want to do a lot of things within that 6 minute or 5 minute version.
Yeah, and I think exactly as what you've mentioned, you have the choice to cut that scene, that shot out, where she tells you not to film it, but that very act of including it, I think, informs us, right, about your ethics, right, and which then equalizes, I think, the power of the woman, right, in letting you do so, right, as we watch the film. So I thought that was actually a very generous act on your part, right, as a filmmaker, to give voice to the woman. Yeah, so thank you. How about Yasmina and Mauro?
Yeah, I don't know actually what to add. It's just, yeah, like when you're filming a documentary, usually you're making a relationship with your characters, and they should trust you, and you shouldn't take advantage of this trust, although it's really tricky if it's a scene that would really make a better movie, you know. For example, in our film, Amal, mother of Balasan, asked us not to put the scene where she's crying in the beginning. And then we had a talk with her, and then like she agreed to keep it because we explained why is it important for the story. And the other clip that I sent, that was completely unconsensual. We were filming people without their permission because we didn't know what was going on, and it was a visual anthropology workshop also. So I don't know if this is a good excuse, but yeah. So if this is for me a tricky question. Like I also, when I'm editing, also I'm thinking a lot of times to protect my characters if I think that what they're doing or saying could harm them in like legally or some other way. So yeah, it's there are always decisions, but I also agree that in the end it's fiction, and it's like I have the power then to decide how and what I will include. But yeah, for me it's just I want to be responsible to people who trust me.
So I was also wondering, I think in your case, would sometimes the people who ask you not to shoot be the people who are the authorities, you know, who are watching over you, be it, I think, in A Long Journey for the first steps, or I think in, you know, what you're doing with the squatters now.
Also, like in the film, in The Long Journey for the First Steps, I don't think there was like this authority issues. Like there was with, with other people, but not with our characters. And there we had to, like, we made a slight compromise by including some more credits at the end, but then we took them away because it was just like a promo video for Ministry of External Affairs or whatever. Like what you said about the film about the squatters, that there was a huge problem because like I was facing like when the things really started to get interesting, suddenly everyone was camera shy, like a lot of people who weren't even involved in the story, and they didn't realize that why is it important to document this, that this story is bigger than their face, and that the police will not come looking for them because of this film, because come on, it's Slovenia and it's a squat. I mean, get real. It's not like, it's really easy to be an activist in certain countries, like in Slovenia. So this was for me really annoying that I couldn't sometimes document some really important events just because some people felt uncomfortable. And instead of like putting a mask or going out of the frame, they'd rather like, you know, not have a camera there because what if police gets this or da 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 da. So yeah, in this case, you really have to be prepared to fight for your film. Otherwise, I don't know what to say. Like either you decide to not like I was a bit afraid that I would get excluded from the like plenums and some really cool important events because I was filming, but I also had a lot of support from people who knew me and knew that I was filming for months and so on. So in that case, I just think like you have to decide and whether to risk it or to have really good arguments. And that can like save you and keeping the role of the filmmaker.
Thank you. Mauro?
I mean, in my case, it wasn't that difficult to get the authorization to film Simone in this case, but I can tell that it's not always easy when you have the relationship with the character to make him do what you have in mind. Even though, I mean, you try to give him all the freedom to move around and to do what he wants, time you have some goal in mind with the thing you want to build. And when you have a relationship with the person, is actually even I find it even more difficult to make him do what you have in mind. If an actor that is there and is meant to be there for this reason, you can sort of direct him. In this case, there is a relationship part as well that come into the equation, and sometimes is not that easy. And I cannot say much about editing and other stuff because it's not my job, so I cannot have a word on this topic.
But I'm wondering, you know, like, do you think that it is important when you approach, right, and that Simone agreed to be on this project, that he gets to see the edit and that he's okay with it before you allowed it to go out?
I mean, in this case, we didn't do it because when it all started, we didn't even know what was the end goal of the project. I mean, it started really as a video that I wanted to make with him, with really in an amateur way, and then I decided to involve a director that knows what to do with filming and everything. So in this case, we didn't involve him. But if we will think about doing something where Simone, I do a spoiler maybe of something that can be done in the future. As Simone wants to be a filmmaker, I don't exclude that in a moment I will try to let him lead a film on his own, where he has his voice, and he actually knows more than me about editing and screenwriting, as he's rewriting TV series all day long. So I probably will try one day to give him a voice where he is actually telling me what to do and what not.
I think that would be really interesting. I think already now with handphones, we see that, you know, I think children, people, you know, like anybody, right, is actually making stories now. And it will be interesting to hear from them, right? Stories that are told from their perspective and their point of view. Yeah. So yeah, we have come to the end of our dialogue session. Thank you so much, you know, for sharing, I think, your films with us and for sharing with us your process and your thoughts and your ideas. The True Colors Film Festival, right, would happen from 3rd to 12th of December this year. And we hope that, you know, everyone will come and watch the film. It is free and it is online. And do enjoy, right, these films which are brought to you by the generosity, right, of our filmmakers as well as our sponsors. Thank you so much, everyone.